We're joined by Professor Wilfed Reilly from Kentucky State University, which I will note is a historically Black university. And his latest book is called Taboo, 10 Facts You Can't Talk About. The first chapter of the book is called The Police Aren't Murdering Black People. So I thought you would be a good person to bring in on this question. We just heard from Commissioner Carrick how statistically low the numbers are of police shooting unarmed Black men, and your book has a lot of similar statistics. And yet, the common narrative is that police are essentially hunting down and shooting young Black men in the streets. Every case is reported as yet more proof of racist police. People get angry, they protest, they riot, and they want to abolish the police. So how do you explain where this mistaken perception comes from?
I mean, I think that present company, of course, accepted. A great deal of the blame here has to go to the U.S. media and to a lesser extent the world media. There was a study recently done by the Skeptic Research Center, which is heterodox but very well regarded. And what they found was that among people that describe themselves as liberal or very liberal, something like 35% of them thought that the number of unarmed Black men killed by the police in a typical year was, quote unquote, about 1,000. Another 15% thought it was about 10,000, and 7%, if I recall correctly, thought it was more than that. Now, in reality, the total number of unarmed Black men killed by police in the most recent year on record was 18. So there's a reason for that incredible discrepancy between reality and what people perceive. And a lot of that is the information that people are consuming, the sensationalist content we see out there so much in particular, the USA.
So we know that there's about 50 to 70 million police suspect interactions a year, and about 1,000 of those end up in a fatal shooting by police. Yet we don't see on the news news of 1,000 fatal police shootings. We see a selected number of them. So what can you tell us about that?
I think that, putting this bluntly, the shootings we see are those where there's a potentially sympathetic Black victim and generally not always a Caucasian police officer. So you're absolutely correct. I mean, there are about 50 million police-citizen interactions in a typical year, 40 to 50 million. 1,000 of those, a tiny percentage, end in a fatal shooting. And the data even there doesn't necessarily reflect what, say, the Black Lives Matter movement or the Black blockers in the streets might believe. In a typical year, about 50% of the people shot by police are simply Caucasian. They're white individuals. Another perhaps 20% will be Hispanic. You can argue whether that fairly slight disproportion for Black victims is due to residual racism or to higher crime rate. That at least is a legitimate conversation. But I mean, I would simply ask the viewing audience to name one white or Hispanic person shot by police over the past couple of years. When I speak to men's groups and such, almost no one can.
Be sure to watch the entire episode now on EpochTV.com, a new completely censorship-free premium subscription platform brought to you by the Epoch Times. See you there.